Hi everybody, welcome back to Ferrigno Freedom Channel. I'm Dante Ferrigno and I'm here today to do another reaction video. I've been on a carnivore diet now for a little over 3 years and it has changed my life in so many ways I can't even go into it in just a few seconds here before I jump into this video. But if you want to check out some of my older videos, especially my very first video, 125 Days on Lion Diet, you can really see the progression that I went through from where I was to where I am now in a very short period of time. And ever since then, it has just been gangbusters being able to share this information with you, this journey with you that I've been on now for 3+ years. And I wanted to take a look at something today that looked pretty interesting to me. I personally follow Tucker Carlson and his network ever since he left Fox News. I hadn't watched him when he was on Fox News very much because I gave up on all mainstream media a long time ago. And I kind of thought he was in the same basket as a lot of those people, even though every once in a while I'd hear him say some things and I would think, that's pretty smart. But I figured anybody that's still with the networks, just not worth listening to. Well, now that he's on his own, I've been listening to him a little bit more. And what I like about him is he's very real in a lot of the way he approaches things, and he seems to be really digging for the truth. And the thing I like about this video that we're about to look at, and I haven't watched it yet either, we're going to watch it together, but he's going to be speaking with Calley Means. And Calley Means is somebody who has been exposing the underbelly of big food and especially big pharma because of his experience from the other side of the coin. A lot of the things he talks about are the things that we as carnivores have already figured out, is that big pharma is not really helping us out at all. They've taken over the medical industry and they've taken away any real sense of trying to actually get people healthy. It's all about keeping people addicted to their medicine, keeping people treated on whatever it is they can treat them on for the rest of their life. And if the food industry works together with that to keep you sick, then they're just working all the better. Everybody's making their big pile of money. But I don't want to steal all of their thunder. I'm sure they're going to explain some of these things in the video here. It's only a short video. It's 9 minutes long. So without any further ado, let's take a look and see what Tucker Carlson has been talking to Calley Means about. The video is called "The Real Reason Big Pharma Runs Ads on TV." It's not for you. This one strikes close to my heart in a way because one of the things that I can't stand when I do find myself watching television that has commercials, I don't even watch commercials on YouTube anymore. I do the YouTube premiums because I can't take it. I just can't take watching commercials. One of the things I hate the most are the big pharma ads that are out there and the big food ads, both of them. They're just so full of lies and so full of deception that I can't even stand it. But I'd like to see his analysis on this. And if you'd like to also, let's take a look at it together.
I want you to understand the battle is what are we going to do societally about the metabolic health crisis?
And what should we do? Like, you're in charge. I know you said you're a libertarian, but let's just imagine you were a fascist and you could do whatever you wanted. What would you do?
It's not what I think the president can do numerous things tomorrow that will I think one of the biggest lies we're being told is this can't be turned around quickly. We did not have a metabolic health crisis a generation ago, and we can turn this around very quick. I don't think the American people are mass suicidal, frankly, which is what we're acting. We have an addiction crisis. I can give you a couple right now. The president
100%.
Tomorrow can tell the FDA that the U.S. can no longer be the only country in the world that allows pharma ads on TV news, which isn't to influence the consumers, it's to influence the news. Pharma buys off the news, and the FDA can issue an order tomorrow saying that that's no longer the case, that we can't have pharma spending on TV news. That is an executive decision. It can be issued tomorrow, and it would totally undercut the ability of the pharmaceutical industry to control our information. Food stamps, the ag bill.
So you think that pharma, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you're throwing so,
Yeah.
for my aging pizza-addled brain, it's hard to keep up. But you're saying that pharma buys TV spots not to convince people to ask for specific drugs from their physicians, but to subvert the news business?
This is an open secret working for pharma.
Well, I'd never even thought of that.
This is an open secret. The kind of silly ads you see.
Me either. I never thought of it from that perspective at all, but he's got that insider viewpoint from having been in the big pharma industry and seen it from their side and heard what their plans are. So one of the things that my first reaction to this is it goes against the notion of free enterprise. And I'm very much about freedom. Heck, I didn't even wear this shirt thinking about what the show was going to talk about today. This is just one of my favorite shirts. I love the idea of people being free to do what they want to do. And that includes people being free to buy advertising on TV shows. So I battle with this idea of banning people from doing things or saying that certain companies can't do things. But the one thing I do notice is that they have way too much clout, and if what they're doing isn't about advertising their product so that you can buy more of it, I don't know. This is going to take some wrapping my brain around. Let me back it up just a little bit so we can listen to what he just said, and then we'll keep going.
An open secret working for Pharma.
Well, I'd never even thought of that.
This is an open secret. The kind of silly ads you see between the news breaks, the points of that is not, it's marginally to impact the customer, but the Pharma's already got that. They've already bought off the doctors. They're good on that. No, this is an open secret. The news ad spending from Pharma is a public relation lobbying tactic, essentially, to buy off the news. The news is they're not investigating Pharma.
I've noticed.
The news has become basically a referee that you were a terrible anti-science Luddite for asking why, the shots that we require our kids to get that fundamentally by their own advertising change the immune system of that child for life, why it's gone from 20 to 70. To even ask that question, the news referees that and calls you anti-science when the two largest vaccine makers in the country are literally criminal enterprises. GlaxoSmithKline and Merck, in the past 5 years, has settled two of the largest criminal penalties in American corporate history for bribing doctors and creating misleading research, who are the two largest vaccine makers. So you literally have the media playing referee that you can't even ask a question. Parent is actually...
If you have a vaccine injury, and many people have, including some I know very well, even a profound vaccine injury, you're not allowed to complain about it.
No, you're anti-science.
Even if it can be shown, this is a vaccine injury.
The media plays referee because they're funded. But so in all levels, right? Wow. On all levels. And I'm
very dark, Calley Means.
Well, I think it's hopefully empowering. I think this is why we have an opportunity here, Tucker. Like Ozempic, this is not some new, it's kind of this funny thing, it's kind of vain, I can lose weight. This is the reason the stocks are going up is because this is going to be a lot of government money. This is going to be the highest funded drug from the U.S. taxpayer in history. And we've got a society, when are we going to say, let's go another direction? Why are we trusting Pharma now when they've been completely acting to garner no trust? We have to be basic here and incentivize better eating, better farming.
Yeah.
Think about public policy with the $4 trillion we spend on healthcare. How can Americans be more active? These are
everything he just said about better eating and better farming. 100%. I support that 100%. And when he talks about Ozempic, that's something that only popped up on my radar when I was doing a carnivore conversation with an old friend of mine here on the channel. And he had been making very good gains on a carnivore diet. And then he said when he slowed down on his gains, he decided to try this thing called Ozempic. And I hadn't heard of it at the time. I just remember thinking to myself, this doesn't sound like the way to me, because Pharma is a big part of how we got into this bad situation. Big food plays a big role as well. I mean, they work together to keep us all sick and keep their money machine rolling. They're playing with our emotions in the food, and they're playing with our pains and our ailments in the pharmaceutical side, and they're buying out the doctors. They're buying out their education. I knew that, and I knew that they spent a lot of money on advertising, and I figured that was just to get more people hooked in. I never thought of it as being a way of lobbying the news to be their champion, their voice. I'm kind of ashamed to not have thought of that until now, but I mean, it makes total sense, because the news, what people still refer to as the news, I still think of as the mainstream media, Fox News, CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, all of these news outlets that we talk about, They all parrot the same talking points. And for those of you who love Fox News, I'm so sorry to tell you, they're drinking the Kool-Aid as well. I mean, they're in the same bandwagon. I stopped watching all of that stuff years ago. And there's a reason why, because I knew that I was being lied to, and I didn't want to be lied to. But I know very many people who still watch that stuff religiously, and they buy it. They believe it. They believe all of those things that they're being told. And it's catastrophic, because they'll tell you up is down and left is right, black is white. They're totally telling you the opposite of everything. And I've heard it referred to as gaslighting. I've heard it referred to as propaganda. But ultimately, it comes down to complete brainwashing, because people want to grasp on to this reality that this notion of things that are normal. And when somebody on the news repeats something, so many of us have grown up with that notion in our lives that somebody on the news is there to give us the impartial view of things, that even when we know, even when our own internal sensors go off that say something's not right here, they're not saying the truth. We start to question ourselves instead of questioning them, and that's where part of the problem is. But I just never really thought of it as them being bought off by Big Pharma specifically so that they can cause us to have this anti-science view of anybody who questions the medical system, who questions Big Pharma. But just this little bit of light that he's shedding on it here from that perspective, I thought I was enlightened on this stuff, but this is truly eye-opening. I want so badly for so many other people to realize these things. For the longest time, I've been praying and hoping that people are going to see the lies that are being told to us. And the more people I talk to, the more people I realize they already think the way that I do about a lot of this. They already realize that we're being gaslit, that we're being lied to, that we're being steered down a certain course, that we're following the 2030 agenda of the World Economic Forum so that they can have complete control of the world. I mean, so many people understand these things, but there's a handful of people I run into that just have no clue about any of this, and they think I'm absolutely crazy. And I realize that there are blocks of people out there like that, and it hurts me to think that they just march in lockstep with that type of thinking, because they're what's marching us down this path. But there's so many more of us who seem to get it. I met a doctor the other day when I was working at my current job, and he's a urologist, and he was telling me all about how he and his wife watch my channel all the time. Really opened my eyes that there are a lot of doctors out there who see exactly what's being talked about here on this thing that Tucker is talking to with Calley Means on, that we are being manipulated and controlled even beyond what I thought. And I've kind of thought of myself as, maybe I am a bit of a conspiracy theorist. Maybe I am too skeptical. Maybe I've become cynical. But this just reinvigorates me and reminds me that I'm not, and that I'm on the right track. I mean, it should be obvious after all the change that I've gone through because of the carnivore way of eating and getting all the garbage food out of my life and getting all the drugs out of my life, all the medicines that they would give me, not having to go ask a doctor for permission to buy some drug that doesn't really fix anything. It just gives me some kind of Band-Aid on a problem that's a lot bigger than that Band-Aid can fix. I think everybody needs to really watch this. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there who have opinions that they've already set in their mind about people like Tucker Carlson, and that they don't want to listen to him. I was watching Jon Stewart the other day talk about Tucker Carlson, and Jon Stewart's one of those guys that every once in a while he shows a glimpse of waking up, just like Bill Maher. He'll show a glimpse of having some rational thought for a moment, and then he'll open his mouth a little more, and then you realize that he's just full of it. And especially with Jon Stewart, it's like he completely supports the current power structure that's out there. And that power structure is exactly what he claims to be fighting against. So it's an absolute lie. And I really just hate lying. I hate seeing people lied to. I hate deception. It's the kind of thing that makes me sick. And it's the reason why I have tried on this channel to tell my story in such a way that I'm very open about my life with so many people because I want you to see that getting away from these things, getting away from the food that we've been convinced is safe for us and the medicines that we're told we need, getting away from those things is how you find a healthy and active life. By actually limiting the intake of your food to something natural in your life, and not much more is natural than meat, because that's what we've been eating for thousands of years, that's how you reclaim the heritage of your health and your life that's being taken away from you by big food and big pharma. Anyway, I've gone on long enough about that tirade. Let's just go ahead and watch the rest of this.
But these can be done, and just
a little bit.
Just think about public policy with the $4 trillion we spend on healthcare. How can Americans be more active? These are basic things, but these can be done. And just two more quick ones. I mean, there's 20 of these, but you just have to go to the incentives. You were surprised that the majority of university researchers and NIH grants go to conflicted researchers?
Yeah, I was shocked.
Tomorrow, the president could say, we're not going to touch NIH funding, but we're not going to issue grants anymore to people with conflicts of interest. That would sound like a reasonable policy to 95% of the American people. I think that's unimpeachable, bipartisan policy. It will go to conflicted researchers?
Yeah, I was shocked.
Tomorrow, the president could say, we're not going to touch NIH funding, but we're not going to issue grants anymore to people with conflicts of interest. That would sound like a reasonable policy to 95% of the American people. I think that's unimpeachable, bipartisan policy.
Of course.
It will cause a conniption. The media the next day, with their talking points, would say it's the most anti-science.
And NIH funding.
Exactly. So you could do that. You could change ag subsidies, which are just tens of billions of dollars to process food. You could put restrictions on university conflicts of interest, which are essentially R&D labs for pharma. And I think a key one, Tucker, and you go back to the American Academy of Pediatrics, this isn't just some industry group. The American Academy of Pediatrics, the American Diabetes Association, and these medical groups have statutory authority to create the standard of care for how we practice medicine in the United States. They are funded majority by pharma. So the groups that are literally have statutory power to create the standard of care for diabetes, you just step back. Why aren't doctors in giving their patients prescriptions for food interventions if they have prediabetes? Why aren't they giving them and prescribing them and allowing them to use their medically, tax advantage dollars to exercise? If you actually follow the science, that would be the correct medical intervention to reverse that. But we're so gaslighted by this. It's just not even batting an eye that it's just pill, pill, pill. Americans follow incentives. Yeah. It's what we're trying to do. TrueMed is a doctor actually can write a note for exercise.
It reminds me of watching I have a loved one that is going through some very difficult times getting treatment for some post-cancer difficulty that she's had. And I've watched her almost day after day, several times a week, going to see doctors and getting nothing but more confused and more frustrated, new medicines that cause her to feel worse and worse and worse. And most recently, and I don't know if I've talked about this with you before, but it's been something heavy on my mind, so I may have, but it bears repeating again if I have, is that the last visit she had with somebody, she actually ran into a doctor who was apparently willing to give her some true good advice and said the best thing you could do is go on a low-carb diet and try to change what you're putting in your body so that you don't experience these things. And even though I've been saying to this person for well over 3 years now what I've been experiencing with the change of changing my diet and getting all this garbage out of my diet and eating a low-carb diet in the sense of a carnivore diet. It's a no-carb diet technically. So, it's a bit extreme for most people, and maybe that's why it's hard for her to process. Maybe it's the old saying that a prophet is not welcome in his hometown, and that's why I'm too close to this person for them to even see what I'm experiencing just right in front of their face. It's too much like, it's willpower or something about me that makes it different, but it wasn't. It was all about getting the garbage out of my diet. That changed everything. Once I did that, I realized I don't need the medicines. And then I got that extra garbage out of my life. And then I started to realize that I don't need things that make me feel good for just a moment, things like marijuana or nicotine or coffee or any of the stuff that gives me an emotional boost. I don't need those things. My body sometimes wants them because I still have the same aches and pains of a normal person in this life. None of us are going to get through life without feeling some of these things and the difficulties that come. But I don't need them like I used to, where they just get rooted into you and they make you want to keep eating them, keep using them, because you think it at least gets you by whatever it is you're feeling at that moment, those emotional difficulties, those physical difficulties, those mental pains that you're having, those spiritual battles that you're facing. Those things aren't the answer. All those drugs and those foods and those medicines, they're not the answer. But we as a nation, and in some ways around the world, have had the wool pulled over our eyes for so long, and that so many people have grown to just trust what their doctor tells them, even though they're operating with a severe conflict of interest, in that they may not even know it in some cases. They've been educated by those who are wishing to manipulate you and take advantage of you. And even if they do wake up to it, they start to realize, well, I could lose my profession. I could lose my license. I could possibly, lose the gravy train, that I won't be able to pay my college debts. Or simply laziness. I mean, I've listened to Dr. Barry talk about this, about how some doctors, why would they go against the system when it's all set up to where they just keep making the money as long as they toe the line? They don't have to have any integrity. They don't have to investigate further. They don't have to read any new literature. If they just keep doing what they're told to do, then the gravy train keeps rolling in for them. I hope this is a wake-up call for a lot of people out there who are putting all of their faith in what some doctor is telling them. And I know there's people that are listening now that follow my channel and have listened to me talk about this off and on for years, that are still looking to their doctor for these answers. Because like me, you want to believe there's some doctors out there who are good and are doing these things. And I know for a fact that there are, just like the doctor I met the other day, who was saying that what I'm recommending to people is helping people. That was very encouraging to me, to have somebody in the medical community acknowledge what I'm doing and to watch and to encourage others with this same line of thinking. So I'm not willing to give up on the fact that so many people are lost in this system, that are lost in this thinking, because we're waking people up one at a time. And the more people we get woke up to the truth about these things, the more people are going to get happier and healthier. They're going to get their physical life straight. They're going to get their mental life a little bit better, because all of these poisons affect us in both of those ways. And when both of those things are out of whack, our physical and our mental health, then also our spiritual health is going to be out of whack. This way of eating, changing all of this for me, has just helped me get so much more in line than I ever thought, than just fixing the gut problem that I started doing lion diet for, that I started eating a carnivore way of eating to fix. It's like so many other areas of my life have finally gotten polished and sharpened in ways that I never thought would happen by starting off of getting all the bad junk out of the food that I eat and getting back to the natural food that our bodies were made to eat. And then stepping back from that and looking at all of the systems that have been put into place to keep us chained into this mentality. The schools feeding all of our children this garbage, the prisons feeding all of the prisoners this garbage, the military feeding all of the soldiers this garbage. It's the hospitals feeding all of the patients this garbage. It's a self-perpetuating system at this point that we have got to break free from on our own individually, or we're not going to be able to change things for the better on the whole. Back up.
Batting an eye that it's just pill, pill, pill. Americans follow incentives. It's what we're trying to do. TrueMed is a doctor actually can write a note for exercise and food. And that actually can open up medical tax advantage dollars and other insurance dollars. Doctors could do that. But the second you get someone off the chronic disease treadmill, that's not a profitable patient. There's nothing more profitable
100%.
For the pharmaceutical industry than, frankly, a sick kid. You imagine a kid with prediabetes, inevitably they're obese, inevitably they have hypertension, inevitably they have heart issues. They're going to be, like my mom, much earlier on just a ton of drugs, being told on each of those drugs that you're not curing anything. These are conditions you need to manage for life. So we're getting people, there's a war to get kids on that bandwagon. We need to have the moral clarity, frankly, and communicate this like RFK is communicating it. There's something really resonating, and at the core of his message is that we've really lost our way. This is a big issue. This is corruption. It's corruption at the end of the day, which is destroying and profiting off, destroying our kids, profiting on us being sicker and addicted and depressed, quite frankly. This is a big issue we need to unwind. And frankly, President Trump has made some strong statements about this. I'd say watching the GOP debate, it's like watching a bizarre world. I mean, Rome is burning in a lot of ways. We have a corruption problem, and it sounds like they're at, some cocktail party in 1988, GOP cocktail party. It's not about the marginal tax rate. It's not about, the Medicare Part D, page 300. Our biggest industries, the healthcare industry, is profiting from us being sick. It's just that simple. We need to unwind that, or we're going to destroy our human capital and destroy our budget.
If people have come to the end of this conversation and want to learn more, I never do this, but I think it's worth it with you for sure. How can they learn more about your views on this? How can they learn more about these issues? What would you recommend?
Well, as we talked about, this is my life's passion with my sister, who was a doctor who left the system. And I'll announce it right now. I've helped her write a book that's just put on Amazon today called Good Energy, Unwinding and Unpacking These Issues Using Her Experience in Medicine. We put our heart and soul into that book to really unwind these issues, which we think are the most important issues in the country. And then my company is truemed.com, and we help write food prescriptions. I mean, it's our company, but I want to say that I think it's the most important issue in the world. What we need to do is doctors need to follow the science. Doctors need to, when somebody has a metabolic condition, explain to them and incentivize them to practice better eating, to exercise. People listen to doctors. When we were told the food pyramid to eat carbs, we ate carbs. When we were told to take vaccines, we took vaccines. When we were told to stop smoking, smoking rates plummeted. We need every doctor and every medical leader, and frankly, I hope leaders like Elon who care about human capital and our potential, to say we need to unwind this and we need to get back to root causes in America and talk about food, talk about exercise, talk about sleep. You can transform your life. These policies would transform things. You can change your biomarkers in 3 months if you go on a functional medicine type program and really have curiosity about what you're eating, your behavior. What if we had that message from our medical leaders? So we're working on that with TrueMed, and I'm on Twitter, which I have mixed feelings about, but talking about this on my Twitter, Calley Means.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm glad he's out there fighting for us, because there's not very many people who are fighting for us on that level where they're trying to get policy affected by this. They're trying to get doctors to start speaking the truth. All I know is it's a slow battle, but I think we're starting to turn the tide some. There's a lot more people catching on to this carnivore way of eating. I have a lot more people joining my channel all the time, and I feel like I'm just a small voice in the wilderness. But thankfully, a lot more people are tuning in, and it has a lot to do with you guys watching, coming in here and watching these videos that I share, and then commenting on my videos and liking and subscribing and all the things that you guys do. I just want to say thank you for those of you who have done that, because I guess however the algorithm works, it likes that. But what it comes down to for me, the reason why I don't like to mention those things all the time is ultimately I'm just putting my hands in the Lord. I'm putting my talents to work the best I can to share the truth with people, as I've been able to find out about it when it comes to this way of eating and what it's done for me and what it's done for hundreds of people who have left comments on my videos, what it's done for the people that I've interviewed on this channel on my carnivore conversations. I encourage you to watch those, because even though they're a little long sometimes, they get you the real side of people's lives who have been changed by this way of eating, and how it changes so much more than just your body and even your physical and mental and spiritual life. It changes your perspective on what the world is trying to feed you. It changes your attitude towards things. I mean, there used to be a time when I would focus on stuff a lot more than I do now. Now, when I walk into a Walmart, it used to be I would think, oh, I'd love to have this, that, and the other. Give me a shopping spree. I can get all kind of cool things that I would enjoy to play with. Now I think to myself, there's just nothing in here I want. There's nothing in this system I want anymore. And sometimes that can be a little bit lonely because so many of the people in my life are trapped in this same system. And I don't really get to associate with people as much as I would like to, because I find that I don't have as much in common with a lot of people anymore. But as more and more people start to catch on to what this way of eating does and what we're being lied to about and all the things that we're being told that are just not true, the more people I have that I can associate with, that I enjoy spending time with and speaking with. But I appreciate you guys coming in and checking it out. And I hope you share this with your friends. Be sure to share the original video. I'll put a link for it in the description. And if you don't mind, stick around for a quick little commercial from one of the companies that I support that also support me. Thanks for being here. I'll see you next time.
If we pay extra, could we maybe get some grease or fat?
The Carnivore bar, compared to movie theater snack prices, it's no competition. With a tub of popcorn running you over $14, I'd much rather enjoy the salty, crunchy, meaty goodness of a Carnivore bar any day, and I don't have to cheat to enjoy my night out. Carnivore bar. Save 10 to 20% when you use my link in the description of this video.